Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We are sitting here. What is the name of the pub we're in today? O'Neill Shire Pub in Delaware County in Delhi, not Delhi. We are in Delhi. That's how you pronounce it here in New York State. That's where we are. Stop number 34 here of the full Sharpe. And I'm very happy that we are staying active. We have about a month left in this campaign season, and people are still coming. So again, thank you all for coming. People are still watching. Thank you for watching. Why in the world would we do this? Why am I spending my time doing this? Why am I asking these people to not be hanging out with their family and friends, but sit here hanging out with me? Why am I asking you to talk to me? There's an important reason. Answers. I'm not joking. Just answers. If any of you watch the debates from the president candidates, if any of you have watched the average Democrat Republican chat and talk about what's going on, what will they always say? We gotta not be the other guy because the other guy's worse than me. That doesn't help your local small business. That doesn't help your local farmer. That doesn't help your local family. That just makes people feel better as we watch the entire state, counties, cities, towns crumble. There's no answer. That's a problem. There has been no answer for decades. They make you feel good. How are we gonna fix businesses? We gotta support small business and support the entrepreneur. Great, how? By supporting small business and supporting entrepreneurs. Great, how? You know, we'll support them. That doesn't mean anything. That's how we placate each other. Well, you have to vote for me because the other guy, he's worse. Let me give you some data points that mean nothing to you but sound horrible. That's what you will hear. Let me give you some data points that I'll give you that don't affect you whatsoever but sound great. That's what you'll hear. I don't want that. I don't want arbitrary answers. I want real answers. And the Libertarian Movement, Libertarian Party is the only party who's doing that. I am very lucky today because I have two people here today who are running for office here in New York. I know everyone's about Joe Jorgensen, and I love Joe Jorgensen, so please vote for Joe Jorgensen for president. Absolutely. It's important to do that. She is our candidate. And in addition to that, on top of that, also vote all the local libertarians who are running across this country, and in my case, across my state. Yes, thank you all. Thank you. Yes. Because this is not just one election. This is many, many, many elections, and change will come from many different spots. So I have a couple of them here today. One of the things I talked about when I was running for office was the idea that we don't want to treat our farms like farms, which are like small businesses. And a lot of people are picking up on that. One of the people who's picking up on that is a guy running here in New York. And is it 51, Tim? Is that right?
Senate District 51.
Senate District 51 here in New York State Senate. And by the way, we're sitting down because our overlord, His Majesty King Andrew II, all hail the king, he has deemed that if we stand up, we have to put our mask on inside because COVID hovers around right here. And if we stand up, we get it. So then we have to put the mask on. If we sit down, we don't have to. And I don't want to happen. It was happening to so many businesses in New York, is literally government agents will come in, shut them down, and some bureaucrat will take their liquor license away, destroying their business. I don't want it to happen. So we're going to follow the arbitrary rules that are here so they can keep their business. The man coming up next, who also hates following arbitrary rules, but will do so because he loves business, is as I said, the man running for State Senate, District 51, Tim O'Connor.
All right, guys, this is me following arbitrary rules and removing my mask to have a conversation. As always, guys, and sometimes I even forgot in other meetups like this, but Larry Sharpe, I want to say thank you for the effort that you put in and for the language and the ability to speak to people that live in upstate New York. I think that you guys out there, my fellow upstate New Yorkers, you guys are checking your trail cameras today, or you're out at duck camp, okay, and maybe you catch a second or two of this. And if you do, Larry speaks the same language that we do. We're talking about an oppressive government structure where they serve us platitudes that do not offer solutions. Okay, so when I have my competitors talking about how taxes are too high, and they're saying, look, taxes are too high, I'm going to beg King Andy II for lower taxes for upstate New York. None of that means anything until we deal with certain issues. And some of the issues that have to be dealt with. Farming and agriculture has been in a decline for a long time, and we've never, ever come up with a palatable solution. Some of the solutions that we've come up with have damaged farmers and their opportunity to be entrepreneurs and come up with their own ideas to solve problems. And guys, I don't know if you realize this, I'm pro marijuana legalization because there's a race in this country to be a successful marijuana provider, and New York inevitably will lose because they want to over-regulate, they want to sell regulations to some big, huge business, and they don't care about small communities. They want to do it for the children, okay? They want to collect a big, huge tax revenue for the children. And when our communities, guys, you could drive around beautiful, lush. It's an amazing place to live. Upstate New York, Central District 51, where by the way, I spent my entire life. It's a beautiful place to live. But we see houses falling in the ground. We see former, productive facilities dead. Their windows are smashed out. They're decaying. They're crumbling. And guys, I point my finger at the government. Some of it is a manufacturing dynamic when it comes to farming, but the attempts to save farming have created ridiculously confusing land use regulations that farmers have no interest in following. Well, not even that they have no interest in, they would follow them, but they could start a project and lose that project before the end of it. And here in Delaware County, the second poorest county in New York State, eminent domain has always been an issue. The government comes in and tries to micromanage farms. It gives them a little bit of money, just like they do all over the state. They give them a little bit of money for an infrastructure improvement, and then they expect that farmer to maintain that infrastructure forever and have increased expenses. And we see it with town projects and we see it with village projects. There are solutions. The solutions, number one, for farmers, we have to reduce regulations, treat them like entrepreneurs, let them grow cash crops without a hassle like hemp and marijuana.
Without strings attached.
Without no strings attached. They will help fund our schools. We will grow an economy, but these things have to happen now. We have a metric that we need to deal with, guys. People are fleeing the state. People are fleeing these small communities at an ever-increasing pace, and the government response to COVID has exacerbated that. At the very least, guys, help me stick my thumb in the eye of the duopoly, write me in for Senate District 51. The next person up, and Larry's going to introduce her, so I don't want to, but again.
Give us your website.
Oh, at Tim for 51 on Facebook, guys. I answer questions. I do live broadcasts. We can talk about whatever you want. I am voting for Joe Jorgensen, make no mistake about it. It's up to you whether you do or not, but I'm telling you there's good reasons to do it, and we will talk about that at Tim for 51 on Facebook.com. Again, thank you to Larry Sharpe. Victoria? Yes?
How do you spell your name? You have to write it in.
Oh,
Right.
it's very simply Tim O'Connor, O''CONNOR or ER. Either way, I've already filed that. We're good. That you can write it either way. It is officially OR, but
I understood it was ER. I literally have typed it wrong multiple times.
You're not the only one. I had some wonderful people make me a Facebook banner that says write in Tim O'Connor for Senate District 51, and they spelled it wrong. And I asked them to correct it, and then I realized it's not that important. I can just talk to the Board of Elections, and they'll work that out. That's close enough. If you get 10 of the letters instead of 11 of the letters, we'll be fine. But guys, again, one more thing, and I mentioned it, but look, Larry speaks our language. Larry listens to us. If we're going to move forward in New York State, we need a guy like Larry who is putting words to action, who is helping us craft solutions, who enjoys working with us on our solutions. And you guys can watch his show, you can hear him talk, and you can reach out to him yourselves, all right? So all of these things are real. The Libertarian Party is real, and it's time to change. Thank you.
All right, the things he was talking about, very important. I mean, critically important. The idea that I'll give you 3 pieces that Tim brought up. And we don't just need people like me. We need people like Tim who will step up and do this, who will show up, who will make things happen, who will come up with actual policies, who knows his own area so he can actually show me what's going on, which is the most important piece, right? The 3 things he brought up, which I want to bring up. The first one is how beautiful New York State is. I can't tell you how. I was just in North Country last week, and it is amazing. Central New York's amazing. If everything in this state, if you haven't been to New York State, anything that you like is here. Do you like lakes? Do you like waterfalls? Do you like mountains? Do you like farmland? Do you like the biggest city in the country? Do you like canals? Whatever you like to do is here. New Yorkers love our state. We just hate our government. Yes. people talk about diversity all the time. That's what you hear. Diversity, diversity, diversity. And the first thing New York State does is create a one-size-fits-all plan for Albany. That's the first thing we do. If we are to respect diversity, as we should, that means we should respect local control. Localization matters, right? Greene County is not Brooklyn, right? Absolutely, right? Delaware County is not Erie County. They're different counties, and they should be. We should be happy about that. I was in Hamilton County last week. There are 4,500 or so people in the entire county. There are more people in 3 blocks of Manhattan. That's diversity. And that's what I like. That's a good thing. People have different priorities, different issues. All those things matter. So no one size fits all. We have a wonderful state. And the last thing I want to bring up, what Tim talked about, was the most critical piece. When someone has a problem, farmers as an example, the first thing we try to do is just tweak our system a little bit, fix a little branch, give them a little bit of bit, and then add strings attached. And in the long run, it always makes things worse. It doesn't just make things equal or a little better. In the long run, it always makes things worse. Always. You've heard me talk 1,000 times about different issues and complaints all the time. And the thing I always bring up is I don't want to fight the branches. I want to fight the root and let the branches die. And the root, which Tim alluded to, and I think Victoria's going to bring up even more here when I bring her up here, is the idea of treating farmers like they really are, small businesses. Just in every way, shape, or form, consider a farmer a small business owner. They are entrepreneurial. They are trying to fix problems every day. And sadly, we've made it to where a farmer in New York State, unless they're a massive farmer, that basically it's a part-time job for them. It's a hobby for them because they have to have a regular job and then their farm doesn't work anymore. But if we treat the farmer like a small business in every way, first thing that happens for a small business, a small farmer, is now they can get loans, actual business loans, not loans against their property, which simply delay their time of collapse, right? And they can also get something more important, investors. If we do what Tim says and we legalize cannabis and we actually allow farmers to do it, we can have craft grows and they'll have investors, not bankers who give them a loan and wait for them to die, commit suicide so they can take their farm, but instead investors who now have their intent is now aligned and they want the farmer to succeed so everyone can make money. Not just that insurance rates go down, not just that you can do more with your property. Right now, farmers have to get separate properties, do separate things. Why? We are hurting farmers while we're trying to help them, as Tim said, for the children. I'm sorry, Tim, you did good stuff. I'm stealing your stuff.
Please, anytime.
It's all good.
I love it when I hear my
yes.
about your mom.
So we're stealing it for the children. That's the wrong answer. Treat them like small businesses and watch the farmers begin to grow. We have an example of this already. And the example is the beer industry in New York State. When we allow brewers to be their own person here in New York State, we have amazing craft breweries in New York State. And New York is not uncommon for someone to go to a bar or a pub, as we're in now, and order a locally brewed beer and pay an extra $1 or $2 for the bottle or the glass, and happily do it because they want to, because they like the homegrown, they like something new. It happens all the time in New York. Some people like the regular stuff, Coors or whatever you think. Some people do, but people will pay extra for something local because they want to. Imagine local grows in New York State. That could happen. If we treat them like small business, it will work. That's an actual solution. Thank you, Tim, for pushing that idea. I love it. I hope more people do. So for more solutions, I have more. Now, that was Tim, who's running locally. But I also have someone here who's running federally, running for Congress. Here in New York State, she has 11 counties she has to cross. Oh, my God. But 11. But she's doing it. And this is why we have to be supporting people like her. She's going to talk to you about her issues and her concerns about farming here in New York State and across the country. Running for Congress in New York, Victoria Alexander.
Hello. When I entered this room and I talked to the people in Delaware County, I asked, what should I talk about? What's important to you? And the first answer I got was Delaware County is the second poorest county in the state of New York. And I said that cannot be because I have just driven around the county and it is so rich in resources. Somebody else said, well, the agriculture industry is dying here. And I said, well, wait a minute, everything appears to be growing out there. How could that be? So what is going on? I want to mention too that I moved out to Dutchess County, New York in District 19 from New York City after living there many decades to buy a farm and learn how to grow food, grow my own food. I have always, professionally, I'm a philosopher and a writer, so you can imagine that I would starve if I didn't grow my own food. So I realized that. And so I made a farm. I've got sheep, I've got chickens, I've got a vegetable garden. I can my own food. I feed my family through the winter and the summer. Yes, we buy food at the grocery store too, but mostly junk food that we really could do without. You know, it's the only reason this milk and cheese and
You can't grow Doritos on a farm?
no. So let me say that the amount of time I spend growing that food would make that food very expensive. I mean, a can of collards, a quart, $20 maybe. Food is really hard to grow, and I've learned over the years. I use more like a permaculture method of farming, where I kind of let the animals take care of things for me and interact together. They take care of the insects, and there's a lot of interaction. Larry just mentioned that the federal government tells you what to do with your animals. Yes. Well, you know, the animals know what to do. The chickens follow the sheep around, and they eat bugs in the grass. I've never had a tick in our 4 or 5 acres that we've never had ticks. We have chickens. So, and I can tell you too that feeding my family, I've never needed the government's help for anything. I have needed the advice of neighbors and friends.
Community.
I have used the federal guidelines for canning times. They do have a good website, and they have information available. And I must say, and I think all that stuff was put together in the 1920s or something, because they do have a recipe for squirrel.
Eat squirrel.
It's probably delicious.
It's not.
So the one thing that the government has done that has hurt us is they've gotten rid of, they have all these rules and legislation licensing for slaughtering, which means now that if you want to bring an animal in to turn them into pork chops and lamb chops, you have to put them on a vehicle. It's really frightening for them. You take them away from their farm, they're terrified. They go into this horrible place. And I don't know what happens to them once they go through the door. It's probably really terrible. Whereas if you could slaughter animals on the farm, it's no more frightening for them than for my sheep when they're shorn, because that's kind of scary. A guy comes out with an electric thing. So that has caused a real problem for small farms. It's you can't have 30 head of cows or sheep, and you'd have to deal with this really expensive process for processing the food. They don't allow a mobile butcher unit to come in. So that's one instance, and I could probably think of many.
It's a solution, right? I'm sorry to interrupt, but that people in our area don't hear what you're saying there, but expand it. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I won't. I'm here for feedback.
But to expand that notion that we can grow our own food without the rules that the government are hitting us with, that prevent meat from going into a store from your neighbor's farm, but we can still help facilitate that solution.
Right. You're not a.
The government has guidelines.
Yeah.
But guidelines are far better than regulations, right? They have guidelines.
Absolutely.
You follow some of them, right?
And I have said many times when I go on the website and look at the government information, I am so grateful for this. Mm-hmm. This was written during a time when people had good free gardens and people were taking care of themselves. But this is the American spirit to take care of yourself.
Mm.
I'm not going to need welfare. I'm not going to need help. Even if the economy collapses with COVID, I have a farm. I have a canner. I have all the supplies. I'm going to survive, and I'm going to be able to help out all my neighbors.
And I'm moving in.
Yes.
I'm
We will make
saying-
room for you, sir. Absolutely.
I'm going to take care of you all. So, ask me, because I've been through it, and it's hard to grow food, and I learned the hard way, many years, and many crops failed. But I don't need the government to help me with that. And I want to help my neighbors be self-sufficient. And really, it's crazy that I am a farmer. I really shouldn't be able to do this. I don't have the skills. I don't know how it happened. But just out of fear, really, I never want to have to depend on anyone else. I have this feeling that I want to be independent and I want to be self-sufficient. And when I talk to my friends in Europe, they always say, "You Americans, you just come up with your own solutions for things." I was talking to him about alternative currency and stuff, and he's just amazed that that's who we are. That is who we are. And I want to see that in this reaction. When this COVID stuff really finally hits, because it hasn't quite hit us yet, they're coming out with another, throwing us some more peanuts, some bread and circus with the Heroes Act, which apparently they cut out the heroes of the benefits for the hospital workers and things like that. Did not get.
Of course, right? Let's not really serve people with our big government action.
Yeah. So what are they doing? So, and I don't know about, I'm just growing food for my own family. I've learned a few skills. I don't know what it's like to try to do that for a living. I don't know what it's like for these farmers. But I do know one thing, that the cost of food is way too cheap. The U.S. government subsidizes food and keeps the prices low. And that prevents the small farmer or somebody with just a little plot of land from entering that small farmer market, or just growing a vegetable garden and being able to make some money off that little bumper crop that he has.
Support monopolies.
Yeah, come on, don't, food is expensive. Don't keep the price of food down. If anything, if we had lower property taxes,
Isn't that a big component? If you want to have a cash crop on your farm, you have to pay the man, and the man is the government. They're preventing a little guy who doesn't produce, let's say they have $20,000 worth of food, they don't get to pay farm level agriculture production. So cash crops are next to impossible with the current government, right? I mean,
if your agricultural farm taxes were lower, then if everybody's property taxes were lower, then we could all afford to pay more for food.
amen.
If everybody's education tuition has gone up, 4,000% or something, if that were lower, everybody could afford to pay more for food. If the insurance industry had hiked up the prices for medicine, then everybody could afford to pay more for food, and farmers could make a real living. And also, too, the kinds of food that you grow on a big industrial farm are the kinds of foods that can be planted and taken out with big, heavy equipment. And I know from growing vegetables that doesn't work with a lot of the food that I eat, because things are ripe at different times. And you pick different things throughout the course of the season. You can't just go through with one tractor and bring everything in at once. It can't be mechanized very easily at all. So, this idea that, the big farm is more efficient doesn't really work out unless the only thing that you're growing is corn for ethanol, which is a terrible bio crop. Hemp is much better. It has a lot more oil for that. So, please, federal government, do not come up with solutions for us and tell us how we're going to fix things.
What's your website?
Let us figure these things out. Let us work together as a community. I want to do a shout out for All American Canning Company that makes canners. They have a foundry, the only one left in America now. They have great recipes for canning too. So that as well. So I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives in District 19 of New York. My website is directdemocracyus.org. Please take a look at all the wonderful new solutions that are radically different from anything else anyone else is talking about. And vote for me. Thank you.
Oh, yes, awesome. And that website again was directdemocracyus.org. Is that right? There we go. And of course, Tim's Facebook page is Tim451. Is that right?
Yes, at Tim for 51. Just type in the at Tim for 51. It couldn't be simpler.
If you guys want to support these people, please do so. They're doing great stuff. You know, I got to bring up what they're talking about more than anything else, which is the idea of us trying to help ourselves, but more importantly, relying on community and also using government for what I talk about often, not to enforce, but to be a central repository for information, a place to go that you can voluntarily take the information you want, but not only government information, other people's information too. If we had done that for COVID, we wouldn't have so many bad things happening right now. If we had done that consistently, we'd have better results than we're talking about right now. I'm so happy that I have both of these people running. If you want to support them, please do so. It's important. Again, directdemocracyus.org. and Facebook page at Tim451. This is what's happening here in New York State. There's a lot of stuff happening. Support us, vote gold this year. And you might say, wait a minute, Larry, I can't vote gold. I love these guys, but I got to vote for Trump or I got to vote for Biden. Well, first off, if you live in New York, no, you don't. If you live in California, no, you don't. If you live in South Carolina, no, you don't. If you live in Oklahoma, no, you don't. Why? Because South Carolina and Oklahoma are going to Trump. New York and California are going to Biden. You don't have to bother voting for those people if you live in states like that. And many of you have many states that you know where this is going already. So why in the world would you keep voting red and blue? Vote gold. For sure do that. And if you have someone in your local ballot, and we do here in New York, lots of them in your state probably too, vote gold for change. Vote gold for the future. Vote gold because after November is over, whatever the results are in November, I don't know what they're going to be, but whatever they are, there are going to be tens of millions of unhappy Americans all around this country. Where are they going to go? I have an idea. Us. Come to us. But they're not going to come to us if we don't have infrastructure. They're not going to come to us if we're not taken seriously. And how do we do that? By getting a good vote total. By showing people that we are candidates worthy of being voted for, that we are a party that matters, and we are. I'd only ask you one more question if I would. Think about the debate that happened the other day. Which one of those candidates is going to heal this country? Yeah, they're laughing here. None. That's exactly right. What party is going to all of a sudden heal this country? Only ours. Only our movement can say, you can come from the left or come from the right. Just don't force your view on others. Victoria talked about having her own farm. Tim talked about farming. That's awesome. I come from the city. That's also awesome. How about I don't force my view on them and they don't force their view on me, and we'll all be happy. Woo! How about that? Yes. That is our answer. That is how we'll win. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Guys, thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'll see you all very soon. Go gold.